Welcome to Morning Motivation, where history's greatest minds fuel your grind. Want their secrets? Subscribe now and turn their wisdom into your legacy. Let's go.
Feel like your actions don't matter? Greta Thunberg has a powerful message for you. No one is too small to make a difference. Greta Thunberg had always felt a certain stillness when she stood by the sea. The waves, relentless and unwavering, reminded her of the power of persistence. She often came here, to the rocky shores near her home in Stockholm, to think. Today, as a chilly breeze swept through, she wrapped her arms around herself and stared at the horizon. It was hard to believe how much had changed since her first school strike. It all began when Greta was just 15. She had learned about climate change in school, and the more she researched, the more unsettled she became. The facts were staggering: rising global temperatures, shrinking ice caps, extreme weather events becoming the new norm. What unsettled her more was the world's indifference. Adults around her spoke of climate change as a distant problem, something to be dealt with in the future. But Greta couldn't understand why the house was on fire, and no one was running for water. Her parents, Malina and Svante, were supportive but concerned. They had watched their daughter's journey through depression and selective mutism, and now this fierce urgency about the planet. "Are you sure about this?" Svante had asked when Greta first proposed her school strike. "What if no one listens? Then I'll sit there alone," Greta had replied. "It's better than doing nothing." On August 20th, 2018, she packed her backpack with homemade flyers and a simple sign that read, "Skolstrejk for klimatet," school strike for climate. She sat outside the Swedish Parliament, skipping school to protest government inaction on climate change. At first, people walked past her with curious glances. A few asked questions, but many didn't. She sat under the gray skies, her small frame almost lost against the imposing backdrop of government buildings. But the world noticed. Her quiet rebellion resonated with a generation that felt unheard. Soon, photos of her solitary strike circulated online. Her message was clear: why study for a future that might not exist? What started as a lone protest evolved into a global movement. Students from Berlin to Buenos Aires began their own strikes, and Fridays for Future was born. Greta found herself standing before crowds of thousands, her voice steady and sharp. She was invited to speak at conferences, where world leaders applauded but often failed to act. She wasn't interested in pleasantries, she wanted change. Her speeches became iconic. "I don't want you to be hopeful. I want you to panic," she told world leaders at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Her words were a jolt, a reminder that the clock was ticking. She didn't sugarcoat, didn't soften the edges. The science was clear, and so was her message: act now, or face the consequences. As her fame grew, so did the scrutiny. Critics called her naive, a puppet, an alarmist. Greta learned to wear their scorn like armor. She knew the facts were on her side, and for every skeptic, there were thousands who stood with her. She had become a voice not just for her generation but for the planet itself. One of her most significant challenges came in 2019 when she set sail across the Atlantic Ocean to attend the United Nations Climate Action Summit in New York City. She chose to travel by sailboat to avoid the carbon footprint of flying. The journey was grueling: 2 weeks on rough seas, battling waves and seasickness. But as she stepped onto American soil, wind-blown and exhausted, she was greeted by throngs of supporters. She had turned an ordinary act, attending a conference, into a powerful statement. At the UN, her speech was raw and unfiltered. "How dare you?" she demanded, her voice breaking. "You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words." The room fell silent. Her words echoed long after she left the stage, a haunting reminder that the future was being decided now. Over the years, Greta continued to push boundaries. She collaborated with scientists, joined indigenous activists, and supported grassroots movements. She understood that climate change was not just an environmental issue but a human rights crisis. The people most affected by the changing climate were often the least responsible for it. Through it all, Greta remained grounded. She returned to school, balancing activism with education. She still visited the sea, still found solace in its rhythm. She often thought of the kids who had joined her strikes, who had found their voices alongside hers. They were proof that change was possible, that the smallest actions could ripple outwards. As the world took tentative steps toward greener policies, Greta knew the fight wasn't over. Progress had been made, but not enough. She continued to push, to demand, to hold leaders accountable. She reminded everyone that no one was too small to make a difference, that hope was something to be built, not simply felt. Standing by the sea once more, Greta watched as the sun dipped below the horizon. The waves crashed and receded, eternal in their persistence. She took a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill her lungs. She was ready for the next strike, the next speech, the next chapter. Because the world was still worth saving, and she wasn't done yet. Greta's journey began in August 2018, when she started skipping school to protest outside the Swedish Parliament, demanding stronger climate action. What started as a solitary act quickly evolved into the global Fridays for Future movement, inspiring millions of students worldwide to strike for climate action. Her story exemplifies how a single voice, when persistent and clear, can resonate far beyond its origins. Greta teaches us that change often begins with an individual decision to act, regardless of scale. Greta's speeches are marked by raw honesty and a straightforward approach. She doesn't soften her message to accommodate comfort. Instead, she challenges world leaders and the public to face harsh truths about climate inaction. Her authenticity builds trust and galvanizes support. This lesson extends beyond environmentalism. Speaking truth to power with courage and integrity can elevate any cause. At just 15 years old, Greta proved that age should not limit one's ability to influence the world. She shattered preconceived notions that young people lack the experience or wisdom to contribute meaningfully to global conversations. Her activism underscores the importance of intergenerational dialogue and reminds us that youth perspectives are not only valid but necessary. Greta's simple act of striking from school evolved into a global phenomenon. Her story illustrates how small, localized actions can inspire widespread change. It is a reminder that seemingly insignificant contributions, whether reducing personal carbon footprints or raising awareness, can collectively lead to meaningful progress. Greta Thunberg's journey is a powerful reminder that no one is too small to make a difference. Through her voice, authenticity, and unwavering commitment, she has shown that impactful change often starts with the courage to act, no matter how small the initial step may seem. Her story is an invitation for all of us to recognize our potential to contribute to the world and to act with urgency, compassion, and hope. Start small, think big. Your impact matters. Let's change the world together.